Hi, this is Sean with Region Alert. I wanted to go over the very interesting situation that's happening in the Ivory Coast today. We I pulled up my daily report and we analyzed for Region Alert 1,800 data points today, 14 weather stations. And then I came down to here and I started looking through what's going on. And there are a few different organizations, a few different unions that are in active negotiations with the Ivory Coast government, and they're pleading with the government and they're threatening to block the ports in the Ivory Coast because they're not getting this 2,800 Central African franc per kilogram rate. This is a very, very volatile situation. I've talked to people on the ground that were on the ground last week, and there is cocoa that is being stacked up in these producer warehouses and in these union warehouses all throughout the country because of this exact issue. The government had told the farmers that they would be paid 2,800 Central African francs per kilogram, and the price dropped to 1,200 Central African francs. And so we have these trade unions that are threatening to literally block the ports and stop any further cocoa from being exported. At the same time, you have the government of the Ivory Coast doing a joint military exercise with the French military from April 7th through the 15th. This heightened presence is going to coincide with some issues that they've been facing. In San Pedro, there were 757 bags of cocoa that were stolen and then recovered. And the crazy thing was, this was from the people that were actually guarding the cocoa themselves. So we have significant strain on the farmers and on the government. The price of cocoa is dropping dramatically and has been dropping with a minor blip this last week. It's actually gone up. The ice price per kilogram has gone up. But we have another major market dynamic here, and that is with Ghana, the neighboring country. So if we go look at Ivory Coast, zoom out here from Florida and go out, and we look at here, the Ivory Coast. We have this giant land border with Ghana. And the issue is that Ghana is paying, let's go down to it, 2,138 Central African francs per kilogram. Well, Ivory Coast farmers are only getting $1,200 Central African francs per kilogram. And here's the New York ice price of 1,921 as of today, this April 6th. So we have this huge arbitrage, this huge delta of difference where if a farmer is able to get their product into Ghana and sell it, they could actually make another $721 Central African francs. The other issue that's going on is there's sustained humidity above 80% throughout portions of the country. And what this has resulted in is cocoa that's sitting in some of these warehouses and these trade unions and these producers or these aggregators, and it's not being stored well, and it's being stored for a long time, and it's starting to get moldy. There are some reports that we've had where they're actually bringing the product out and they're putting it on tarps and they're trying to dry it off and get sun to it during the middle of the day, and then putting it back into the warehouse during the night, trying to make sure that it doesn't lose the value. And so we have the supply and stock here as part of the report, and you can see what's going on there. On the 31st, Ivory Coast ports arrivals were 31,000 tons, total of 1.423 million tons, down 1.17 year over year. Questions remain about the evacuation of residual cocoa throughout the country. Farmgate prices were between 1,200 to 1,300 Central African francs, but there were reports last week of farmers being only paid 800 Central African francs by buyers out in the rural areas. We have policy and regulations. And then I wanted to get down, so all this is daily news that's given to the buyers of the reports. We have crop health issues, quality and storage. And this is one of the things I wanted to point out. Though the issue is only medium right now, in the northern part of the country, there's a terrorist organization called JNIM that is giving the surrounding regions, the surrounding countries, Burkina Faso and Mali, they're having issues in this part of the country. It hasn't, as far as I've read, it hasn't come down into Ivory Coast yet, but there are ongoing issues with that terrorist organization in those parts of the countries, in those part of the countries, in those countries, in those parts of those countries. The port issues, ports are good. A lot going on in the ports, 106 vessels in Abidjan, 47 expected. San Pedro is much smaller, 11 in port and 4 expected. We have the border arbitrage, the smuggling issues, humidity, and these are things to watch in the ongoing. We have these unions going and having issues right now with the government. We have the ICCO meeting. We have the joint military exercises, and everybody's on edge in this country right now.